We are on Sanhedrin, Perek Daled, Mishnah Aleph. First Mishnah in the fourth chapter of Masechet Sanhedrin. So we're going to talk about the differences between Dinei Mamonot, which is monetary disputes, tort law, the Dinei Nefashot, or capital crimes, capital cases. So the Mishnah is going to talk about similarities and differences between tort cases and capital cases. Dinei Mamonot and Dinei Nefashot. So that's the Mishnah. Echad Dinei Mamonot, ve'echad Dinei Nefashot, v'drisha v'chakira. Okay, whether you are talking about a case of money or a case of capital punishment, you have to do what's called drisha and chakira. Doresh means to seek out. Chakira means to examine or investigate. So you have to have drisha, certain kind of investigation, and chakira, another kind. We'll see what they are in a second. Shenamar, as it says, mishpat echad yelechem. You have to have one kind of justice. There's only one kind of court case. Meaning, if it's true, it's got to be true. Whether you're talking about even the most severe cases of capital punishment, or even the most simple cases, we'll call it, people suing each other in small claims court. Okay? So, what is drisha and what is chakira? Let's look at the Bartanura for a second. Okay, it says, Ubidinei nefashot, it says about capital punishment, v'darashta v'chakarta. V'darashta, you shall seek out, v'chakarta, you should investigate. Chakira is an investigation. V'zeu din Torah. This is the law of the Torah. What is drisha and chakira? We'll skip for a second. Drisha v'chakira, hu ha'she'ila b'inyan v'atzmo. Okay, it means, okay, drisha is the she'ila, okay, b'inyan v'atzmo. Come on, meaning drisha is, drisha and chakira is what happened? Kam hilvar, amashiri len, matay hilvar, when was the loan? Is the inyan hilvar, what were they loaning about? What place was the loan? That's one kind of drisha v'chakira. Yesh min acher min ha'she'ila, shnikret b'dika. So then there's another thing called b'dika. So drisha and chakira is the case. But then there's something else called b'dika. Ve'ino b'inyan v'atzmo. You can do outside investigation. You can do other. The judges can ask other questions. Meaning, if the judges have a sense what's going on, they say, "Well, what was he wearing that day? Where were you?" They can ask all kinds of interesting questions. They have the leeway, so they have to do drisha and chakira. But they can also ask what's called bdika if they want to know more information. If they want to evaluate. That's the leeway of the judges. So now the Mishnah said there's mishpat echad yelechem. There's only one kind of judgment. Meaning you have to have the same kind of evidence for the smallest case and the biggest case. That's a din Torah. That's the law of the Torah according to the Mishnah. The sages said, you don't investigate. The way you investigate for a capital crime is not the same way. You don't do an extensive drisha and chakira, an extensive investigation for money cases. Why? You want to. This is a halachic principle. You don't want to, in the old deli, you don't want to lock the door in front of lenders. I mean, if a lender knows that when he wants to get the guy to pay back, they're gonna send out the investigative police and ask all kinds of questions like they would do for a capital crime. But no one would ever lend money. So therefore, in order not to be in old deli, in order not to lock the doors for those people who want to borrow money, in order to prevent people from not lending, therefore they said, listen, okay, they have less drisha and chakira din memonot, ein marichin. So even that's the law of the Mishnah, but we see that it's mitigated by Chazal. Okay, so ma bein dinei mamonot dinei nefashot. So what are the differences between monetary cases and capital cases? A bunch. One, dinei mamonot b'shlosha, dinei nefashot b'esrim b'shlosha. Okay, monetary case you have 3 judges. Capital cases minimum 23 judges. Number 2, dinei mamonot potchim ben l'zchut ben l'chova. Okay, money cases. The person who is the accuser, meaning the plaintiff, and the defendant, whether you're the plaintiff, the chovah, the judges can ask him his case, or l'zchut, or the person who's the defendant, who wants to be innocent. But for capital cases, potchim l'zchut, you always start on the meritorious side, on the side of innocence. You never start on the side of guilt. The prosecutor never starts. The defense attorney always starts. Next difference. Matin al pi be'echad ben l'zchut ben l'chova. So remember we said you only have to have majority of one, whether to obligate or whether to exempt from payment. But v'din nefashot, matin al pi echad l'zchut. In capital cases, matin you follow the majority. Let's say there's 23 judges, 12 say innocent, 11 say guilty. Then yes, matin al pi echad l'zchut for innocence. We accept the majority of one for innocence, but only v'al pi shnayim l'chova. But you can only convict with a majority of 2, which is really a majority of 3, because we never have 2. If it's 23, it would have to be 12 to 11 or 13 to 10. So it's 33. So in cases of money, you can bring back, i.e., you can introduce new evidence, whether it's for merit or whether it's for obligation. But in dinei nefashot, if they declared him guilty and he's going to be put to death, you can reopen the case only for zchut, only to introduce evidence of innocence. But you cannot, if you exonerated a person, you can never retry, you can never reopen the case for reasons of guilt. So we're going to see the way the Sanhedrin, the courts were built. They had the judges in a circle. The judges sat on one side, and in front of them were the students. So, so anyone can open up. If the judges are deliberating the case, then other people can raise points both for zchut, to get the guy off, or to make him pay. But in a capital case, anyone in the room can open up, even the students, the talmidim, can open up and can suggest evidence that's the zchut. But not everybody can melam din chova. Let's go back to Yura. If one of the students said, I'm telling you, I know he's guilty, I'll prove it. We don't listen to him. So you're already getting the sense, even in the very earliest Mishnayot, first of all, you have to have a majority of 2 to convict. We don't want to hear evidence. We don't reopen cases to convict. This is the very famous inclination of Chazal not to invoke capital punishment. We're going to go on. In cases of money, so a judge who's melamed chova, who brings up a point to make the guy obligated, melamed zchut, he can turn around and say the other way around. And if a judge says, I think he is innocent, melamed chova, he can give a reason to say, but here's evidence that he's guilty. He has to pay. But in capital cases, if you had a reason to convict, then you can have a reason to exonerate. But if a judge raises a point to raise an innocence, you cannot go back and be melamed chova and go even make a point. So in dinei mamon, cases of money, danim bayom, the judgment is during the day. But if a gomrim, they can even do gemar din, they can issue the verdict at night. But dinei nefashot, capital cases, danim bayom, v'gomrim bayom, you judge during the day and you issue the verdict also during the day. Why? Because capital punishment is only during the day. Listen to the Bartanir. I think he says why. The person has to be hanged during the daytime. So you can only do gemar din bayom. Dinei mamon gomrim bo bayom, rather, dinei mamon, when they decide when the court case is over, they decide that day whether it's for merit or the chova to obligate. But dinei nefashot, gomrim bo bayom b'zchut, that day, if they exonerate him and they want to make him innocent, then they can issue the verdict that day. Ubiyom shela acharav the chova. But the next day, they have to wait a night. If they agree, okay, he's guilty, they cannot issue the verdict until the next day. Ubiyom shela acharav the chova. Although if I was the defendant, if they say we're gonna talk about it until tomorrow, you're in big trouble. They issue once the court is swift, so therefore, and they want to issue justice. It's called inui hadin. It's unfair. Let's read it. Let's translate. Okay. Therefore, you cannot do a din of dinei nefashot on erev Shabbat or erev Yom Tov. Why not? So Bartanura says why. Okay, so that way you'd issue the verdict the next day on Shabbat. So then once you issue the verdict, they meet out the crime. Because you can't delay the punishment because of inui hadin. Inui hadin is an affliction of justice. It's not fair. You can't judge him that day. I'm sorry. To push the case till after Shabbat, you can't do because of inui hadin. Inui hadin, we're going to see much later on, is punishing a person by pushing off his judgment. You don't do that. You don't push off the punishment, the implementation of the punishment. As a person knows he's going to be punished, you do it right away. You can't judge him on Shabbat. You can't issue the judgment because arba mitot beitin don't push off. We don't kill people on Shabbat because it's fire and we're going to serve their sreifa. So therefore, you don't do judgments, you don't do court cases on erev Shabbat or erev Yom Tov. We'll stop here. dedicate our learning to the memory of my father, Rav Simcha ben Yitzchak Kalman. Have a good day.